Hey babes, welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you are new. For those that don't know me, my name is Brandy. I am the host of the Be Real Babe show, a spinoff of the Be Real Babe podcast. And today, you guys, is keeping up with Canada Day. So we are going to dive into some Canadian news. If you are watching this live while it launches, it is a Monday. I hope you guys had an amazing weekend. I have three different stories to talk to you about today, and then I just want to get into about an event that did not happen here in Canada, but that affected my life personally this last week, and probably why I look a little bit disheveled and my eyes are a little bit puffier than normal. I have three different topics, one involving a teacher here in Canada being suspended, another one talking about the Canadian Liberal government and them going back into work for us here in Canada. Yay, we love to see it. And then the third one, we're going to update on Lily and Jack that have been missing since the spring over in Nova Scotia. So if you guys are interested in listening to that, stick around and we'll jump right in. Okay, babe. So while we get into three different topics today, before we jump into the first topic, the first topic evolves around an event that happened obviously in the States last week. And I know some people here in Canada and in the States have no care for it, and they have zero upset about it, and that's you and your business and your life for sure. I'm never here to tell you what to do, but I would say that I definitely was extremely affected by the Charlie Kirk assassination last week. And this first story that I'm going to talk about here that involves a Canadian teacher revolves around their reaction to his assassination. Now, I'm not here to discuss what anybody should feel like, but I am going to shed a little bit of light on why this situation affected me as someone who is a podcaster, and someone who's trying to be a YouTuber, and who desperately wants us to come together to talk about issues here in Canada, even though we may not agree on politics or religion or lifestyle and all of that. We are still Canadians, and making this the best Canada we can be, I think, is a common goal for everyone. And like the States has become sometimes, politics has gotten so polarizing that discourse is very hard to have. And so this is one big reason why, not only just watching the event itself, I was just going to scroll on social media, just taking a second scroll at work, my mistake completely. I wish I never would have picked up my phone, but you're just having a moment in Excel and you're like, I'm just going to go have a little look here, see if I can watch a funny meme or something. And unfortunately, when I opened my phone, that was the first video I seen up close 4K, and I have not been the same since, and I don't think I'll ever be the same. So not only um because what Charlie was doing is exactly what I would like to do. Obviously, in a different delivery. I understand that that's not for everybody. And I definitely have been self reflecting over the last couple weeks on how I'm delivering the opinions and the things that I feel. So, trust there has been a lot of introspection to make sure that I am delivering the messages and bridging that. uh, we have a mischievous elder cat in the corner here, just throwing things off little platforms, as we we all know and love our cats to do. Apologies. But like, again, that is something that I wanted to do, watching it, or what I do and what I want to do, just in a different format with a different delivery, but nonetheless still talk about these hard conversations with people within my country, whether we agree or we disagree. And again, seeing it in 4K, and someone that I actually really have watched over the last 5, 6 years. This isn't someone that I just found this week or anything. This is someone that I have watched for years. Again, whether you fully agree with someone or not, I've seen people saying that online. It doesn't really matter. I want to be a part of humanity that hurts anytime I see that. And that just doesn't discredit any other things that are going on in the world right now by any means. I think for those that are a little bit confused as to why this certain situation seems to have blown up despite all the other atrocities, I think it's because a lot of people were in attendance. A lot of people know this individual or know what he does, not only just in the States and across many campuses across the world. People have tuned in to Turning Point USA and individuals that work with Charlie for a long time. And if you loved him or hated him, I'm sure you've seen a clip for the most part. And then a bunch of people that didn't know him now are going to see his message, right? So I don't think you just had to be a Christian or conservative or follow of God or on the campuses. A lot of people outside those bubbles seen him too. And as per usual. There's a bunch of stuff that's being clipped out of context, and I urge you to go look deeper in that. And if you still have those feelings, that is completely your choice. I just think for humanity and for us to move forward, it is important to humanize people. I think during the pandemic, we learned really quickly what it was like to dehumanize people and how awful and gross that felt. And we're seeing that kind of now where people are dehumanizing and family and friends are breaking up. And not breaking up, but like, separating. And I completely understand that. And I'm definitely in the camp of like, we need to have our humanity. But I would just urge people to just take a pause before they react. Because again, do we need to further divide? Is that the answer? I don't think it is personally, even though I know that is super hard. But I think right now, the best thing that we can do is try and what I've been trying to do is like, am I being the best person I can be? Where can I make improvements? Clock that for myself, look around, am I being the best spouse I can be? Am I being the best coworker I can be? Am I being the best friend that I can be? The best podcaster that I could be? The best cat mom, the best sister, the best daughter? Like, where in my life could I be better? And how can I deliver my message and the things that I still want to say with the sass and the fun that I still want to be, don't get me wrong, but to a place where I'm not adding to the fuel, where I'm not adding to the polarization, because Canada seems to fall in the steps of the States. And I think a lot of creators are shaken right now because in the States, they always felt that that is the one thing that at least that they had is that they could stand on their First Amendment right and not worry about being shot. And for those that are saying that, and again, I'm Canadian, so I'm sure you're going to correct me in the comments, but people are saying, well, he died using his First Amendment rights while someone was using their second. Am I misunderstanding? Is the Second Amendment that you have the right to murder someone? Because my understanding the Second Amendment is that you have the right to bear arms, and into doing so, there's consequences for bearing arms. Was Charlie in that moment attacking him and this gunman was defending himself? I'm a little bit confused on that one. So can someone please explain that to me like I'm five? I didn't think they said Second Amendment was the right to end at someone's life, but please correct me if I'm wrong. So maybe I'm misunderstanding that. Again, I'm Canadian, but just, and then for me, myself personally, is that I lost a lot of people close to me, very close at a very young age. And my heart just hurts for his family and all of that and everyone that was there. And it wasn't even just people from one side, there was opposition there. He was debating someone that quote unquote wasn't his side. And now they have that looping forever in their brains, which is just unimaginable pain for people, whether again you like someone or not. I think we don't want to be the type of humans that see that and we are just like, oh, whatever, it's not a big deal. I think if that's what's happened to you, you might be a bit desensitized and you might want to see about the content that you're consuming and really just maybe take a beat. That's why people say go touch grass, is like maybe don't condone and surround yourself with violence, even if it's in a fake world. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of us are struggling with seeing that live. Feels like we've seen it right up there, like 4K is as real as you're gonna get besides live, right? So our brains are really trying to process that. And one thing that I found super comforting, and then we'll go into the news here that I wanted to go over through all of this. There was a couple things. One was that the prayers for Charlie to survive weren't answered because God needed him in this moment to bring everyone together, and he asked Charlie to stay with him, and Charlie made the choice to sacrifice himself and his life to do that. So I don't know if that's true, but I found that super poetic. And then another part was if you are very unsure why you're so upset about someone that you don't know dying, besides just the humanity piece, was that he was a brother in Christ and we are all children of Christ. We're all the body of Christ. And that's why you feel it on a spiritual level. And that's why some people feel like it awakens something spiritually in them, myself included. So out of all of this, all the tears and all of that, I'm trying to find the beauty in the self reflection and really go forward and try to live more in. At the end of the day, if I have to go over my report card of what kind of person I showed up to be while I'm here in this timeline, in this meat suit, I want my report card to be the best that it can be. And that's how I'm going to go forward and I'm not going to condone any violence or condone any sort of more divide or say my message any other way. I will slip. I'm aware of I will. But yeah, I just want to make sure that I'm bringing news on what's going on in this country so we can actually address things that are super important outside. We're not our political identity, and I want us to get back to being humans and trying to fix the problems that we actually have in this country. And this is one of them because you have the absolute right to say what you're going to say. But one thing that people are upset about right now is people are losing their jobs for going out and saying these things about Charlie Kirk's death and celebrating them. I think everyone's along the same line of you have freedom of speech, but doesn't mean that comes free of consequence. And with that being, if you're a public servant and you're being paid by people's tax dollars, it does come into question if you're sitting there talking about how much you hate one side or the other, and your patient gets wind of that or sees that on social media or something, they could feel like, are you giving me less care? Are you actually caring about me now because of political beliefs, because it's got that polarized, right? So I think that's one part where it's like, I think there's a freedom of speech. At the same time, if a company decides that they don't align with those types of comments, then they have absolutely right by, I'm sure, your contract to end that if it doesn't align. We all have to be very careful when we're saying things, right? So same with myself, and that's why I'm trying to always make sure to deliver my message with the best kindness that I have. Never been perfect. But in this sense, what am I talking about here? So what am I talking about? Canadian teacher suspended after making class of 10-year-olds watch Charlie Kirk's assassination video repeatedly while ranting about fascism. The tragedy of Charlie Kirk's death has shaken people far beyond America's borders, but one Canadian classroom incident has pushed the shock into an entirely new level. A teacher in Canada has now been suspended after reports emerged that they have forced a group of 10-year-old students to repeatedly watch the video of Kirk's assassination during class time. According to parents and local reports, the teacher allegedly paired the graphic video with rants about fascism, using the classroom as a stage for political commentary. The story has ignited outrage nationwide and quickly spread across social media. I did not hear this. I don't know if you guys heard this at all, but I mean, I've also been so wrapped up in my personal life and really I'm say this, but I'm probably doing a poor job trying to create more than I'm consuming. And I did not catch wind to this until I was trying to prepare for today's episode. Parents were horrified when they learned what their children had been exposed to. 10-year-olds are still very young, and the idea of showing them violent footage repeatedly is something most would never imagine happening inside a school. Many families said their kids came home disturbed and upset, some asking questions no parent ever expects to address after a regular day in class. The incident sparked an immediate investigation, and the school board wasted no time in suspending the teacher while the case is reviewed. Hell yeah. That's what I wanna hear personally, like, there's no room. You do not get There is 0 reason why children need to see that video, y'all. There's no reason adults need to see that video. Nobody needed to see that live. It was awful, it was horrendous, and that includes any act of violence. Unfortunately, this is the one, and why we're speaking about it is because most of us seen it live and we're processing it. Unfortunately, very fortunately, I don't know, I don't like to see acts of violence. That's why people are talking about this one, because a lot of people cannot get that video looped out of their head. For many, the for many, this story undercovers a bigger issue around boundaries in the classroom. Teachers play one of the most important roles in shaping children, not only by guiding their education, but also by protecting their emotional well being. While conversations about politics are often unavoidable in society, dragging children into violent and traumatic subject matter is widely seen as crossing a line. Thank God. The repeated viewing of a graphic video not only broke that trust, but also raised questions about how professional could have thought it was appropriate in the first place. And this is what I think people are worried about, and why, again, I don't know if I fully understand. Like, again, your small business, do what you want. But public servants like teachers and nurses and healthcare, I'm not saying you can't have opinion, Lord. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you have to be very careful with sharing that, and to make sure that those opinions don't supersede the care that you need to give others. Because once you start labeling people in a group and you start dehumanizing, like we see during the pandemic, it gets very dangerous, and that rhetoric builds, and then you potentially can lose your focus on your care over your job, over your political beliefs. And we've seen it. I'm not saying everyone. If you're triggered, then please look inside on that one. Um, but I completely agree that where does the line begin and where does it end, right? Again, we talk about this, and I hope you guys tune into the podcast here on the 26th of September. I had an amazing conversation with my friend Jamie. She's also here on YouTube. And we talked about going left to right in the political spectrum and just, how we need to move forward here but how some things need to have some boundaries. And if you're a public servant, you really need to put your code of ethics first. And when we were growing up, we didn't have this kind of thing. It wasn't something we had to worry about voicing who we voted for or what religion we had and those kind of things, because then we're worried about getting a level of care because there's a handful of people that cannot understand that people can disagree and move on, right? Reactions across Canada have been swift and strong. Parents, education advocates, and even commentators outside of Canada have expressed disbelief that something like this would occur. Mm, I'm sorry, I'm not entirely shocked. There has been an outpouring of anger directed not just at the teacher, but at the system that allowed an incident to happen before any immediate intervention. The school has since issued a statement confirming that the suspension and assuring parents that the steps will be taken to make sure children are given the support they're needing after being subjected to that disturbing lesson. Like, I don't know what that's going to be, dude. As an adult who has seen some pretty fucked up shit, uh, all the power to you for wanting to fix what that happened, but I really hope that that teacher understands the trauma that they just put on that child. Like, if you haven't seen it, don't search for it. If you've seen the far away video, don't look for the close up 4K. Don't let your curiosity get to you. I wasn't curious and it's on loop, you guys. The fact that children watch that on loop, that's fucking child abuse. The ripple effect of Kurt's death has been felt in countless ways, from tributes to controversies, but this classroom story stands out because of the age of the children involved. It's one thing for adults to debate politics, argue over meaning, or even fight about how Kirk's legacy should be remembered, but it is something entirely different to involve kids who should not be carrying that kind of emotional burden. What happened in this classroom is a reminder that the responsibility of protecting children from unnecessary trauma must always come first, no matter the circumstance. Yes, the teacher's suspension will likely not be the end of this story as the investigation continues and parents demand answers. Keep going, parents. But one thing is clear: trust between schools and family has been shaken, and rebuilding it will require accountability and transparency. For now, parents across the community are left to comfort their children and wonder how such a moment ever unfolded inside a place that should have been safe. Good job, parents. That's amazing. Hold people. Like, people need to be held accountable. And I'm not saying cancel culture, and I'm not saying go and hate. Coming at it at a human level. You want to go home and play that for your friends and family on loop, that is your business. But while you're being paid by the schools, which is funded, I'm sure, in some degree for tax dollars, and even if you should not be traumatizing any children. I remember on 9/11, and they did the same fucking thing. They just played the video on the news with the background on loop in the libraries, and that's what we watched. And it was so traumatizing. And here we are 24 years later, and you're doing the same thing. Didn't we not learn what we put millennials through? What are we doing? Thank you very much to the school boards and the parents and everybody that's immediately acted on this and did not stand for that. Kudos to you guys. That's amazing. Again, adults can have their opinions outside of how that is, but I don't think that's fair to be able to put children through that trauma, point blank, period. So I'm glad that people called that out right away. Okay, now let's get a little bit political. And I'm not going to even try and be political about it because nothing's really happened. We all took the summer off, remember? So there's really nothing to talk about. And we're reframing how we're going to talk about politics on here, but we're going to at least talk about what's going on. This is from CTV News, so no one can shoot me here and say I'm being biased. This is on the 14th, so right up to when we're recording here. So Parliament returns Monday, so that'll be tomorrow today as you're watching. First budget on the horizon. Oh, we're so excited. Yay, yay, wee, wee. So, Prime Minister Mark Carney is set to swear off with Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre in Parliament for the first time this week when the House of Commons reconvenes for the fall sitting. I mean, the only sitting. Poilievre won by-election in Alberta last month, allowing him to return to his familiar seat as opposition leader when things get underway Monday. We love to see it. On Sunday, the Tory leader spoke at his caucus as they prepare for a reset. He pledged the Conservatives will work with anybody from any party in order to make this session a success for Canadian people, signaling there could be more cooperation across the aisle as the minority Liberals look to implement their agenda. We will oppose things that we're against, support things that we are for, but we will also propose solutions to the problems Liberals have created, Poilievre said. That's all we ask for our government to do. Back and forth, pros and cons, everyone come to the board, move forward, question things, work together. Please, I beg. During this short spring sitting, following April's election, Conservatives voted that the Liberals to pass the One Canadian Economy Act, the marquee piece of legislation aimed at fast-tracking the approvals for projects deemed to be in the national interest. See, we can play together. We can play together. Love it. Love it. Last week, Carney revealed the first list of projects that have been referred to the new Major Projects Office as part of that push to build faster. Poilievre slammed the announcement on Sunday, saying Carney has failed to grant any permits for new national building projects. Okay, so someone to look in for the next time, possibly to talk about what are the projects and, okay, we're doing them. Are we making any movements? Are we just saying things? Let's look into this. Go look for yourselves if you're curious about that. He promised that after 10 years of Liberal government driving up costs and crime and chaos that he would be different, and sadly, everything is worse. He told the fellow Conservatives, which, I'm sorry, guys, he's not. Where's the lie? Where's the lie? At a press conference Sunday, Carney was asked whether his government will be able to cooperate with opposition parties in Parliament. He said that he said there's been a broad recognition that now is a moment for true unity. I hope so. Thank you. That is great for us to hear. Let's do that. I hope that is true. That's what Canadians expect, and we want to do that with all the provinces, with the unions and the private sector and the innovators, and with Canadians. Surely the opposition parties can cooperate with us, he said. This is all we're asking for, you guys. Did I wish that Pierre won and Conservatives won majority? Absolutely. But if we're going to work together, we're going to have real conversations and get to the bottom and not have this drama-filled fucking show in the House, I'm in. I am all in, my brother and sisters in Christ. Let's go. The first few weeks of sitting will build toward the Carney government tabling its first budget in October. Let's talk about it. Let's go. I heard it's going to be like 20 million more than what was estimated. Carney has said the budget will include both austerity and austerity. Carney has said the budget will include both austerity and investment as the government looks to rein in operational spending while putting money into projects aimed at growing the economy and ramping up defense spending. Why do we need to ramp up defense spending? I mean, I'm not against it, but like, is there a particular reason? On Sunday, the Prime Minister said the deficit had grown since last year, though he said the specific number will come in the budget. Oh, c'est pas bon. Driving that, he said the U.S. tariffs and Canada's response. Driving that, he said, are U.S. tariffs and Canada's response. Brother, that response was your response. That was immediately when you took over, so that's kind of on you. We want to protect our industries and workers in the most affected sectors. Well, that's great to know. Tyler Meredith, a partner in the public affairs firm Meredith Boston Cool and Phillips, said the threat from U.S. President Donald Trump has fallen below some of the concerns for many Canadians since the election campaign. We are getting back to the other set of issues that have traditionally dominated the Canadian politics space for the last 2 years: affordability, crime, and housing. I need a minute. You've got to be fucking just joking me. You're just joshing me, bro. You're just, oh. I thought that Trump and the tariffs were the biggest threat. Now we're I mean, great. I'm glad we're back here. I'm glad it didn't take us this long. But Meredith, who was also an economic advisor to the former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, said the Liberals are also may need to take action to help Canadians who are feeling the rising costs of living and the effect of Trump tariffs. He pointed out that the Carney government introduced legislation in the spring to enact an income tax cut and to eliminate the GST for the first-time home buyers who are buying a home under 1 million. Tim Powers, a conservative commentator and chair of Summa Strategy, says he's watching to see the tone of the fall sitting. I think you're going to have pesky Pierre versus calm Carney. Oh, bitch and brandy. I'm just kidding. Okay. I'm not in the House of Commons. Polyev needs to win a party leadership review for the Conservative Convention in January, and the people that like his aggressive, pesky, holistic style aren't going to want him to waver from that, Power said. Yes, we want Pierre to be as well spoken, articulate, and just to the point and ballsy as he's been. Correct. Ding ding. We have a winner, folks. Um, He expects the Conservatives to keep focused on affordability, crime, and immigration. Yes, all of which are emotional issues for many Canadians. Wow. Wow, imagine that. The Conservatives are going to speak for what their constituents want them to speak about. It's a fucking insane, isn't it? I think there's legitimate anxiety around people's own personal economic circumstances, and wrongly, in a lot of cases, they're linking it to jobs not being available because people are taking them from them, he said. I would urge you guys to go find the Open Minds podcast here on YouTube and just go watch his videos. That's all I'm going to say there for now. The NDP will be trying to regain their footing during the leadership contest after crushing defeat in April saw them lose official party status in the parliament. New Democrats are set to choose their next leader in March. Interim leader Don Davies is joined by just 6 other MPs who have less prominence and less speaking time in the House. Still, the minority Liberal government will need support from the other MPs to pass legislation and will have to look at the NDP or the Bloc Québécois if they cannot pass with the Conservatives on board. And this is what we want to say about a minority government for those that are maybe from the states that are watching this. I'm sure maybe there isn't, but here in Canada, you need a certain amount of votes in the House to pass something. And so, if you're the Liberal government, you're going to have people join you in passing these bills and all that. And usually, then, if you're a minority, you have to reach across to the opposition or even join with someone, but you're going to have to, it's not enough in your party just to pass stuff in this situation. So the Conservatives, because they got so many more seats this election season, that is why I think some Conservatives felt a little bit better knowing that it wasn't just going to be all flooded, even though a lot of other pieces of government are filled with more liberal leaning individuals. But let's all work together, guys, okay? Try to be balanced, okay? I hope you see that, but I'm still gonna have my moments, okay? I'm allowed to. I'm allowed to. Now, the final story that I wanted to talk about today is a follow-up on a story that I talked about before. And again, I don't want to get conspiratorial. I'm not saying anything has necessarily happened, but I just want to bring this story back into a news cycle, at least within my realm, because we are on the other side of Canada here, but I'm hopefully this will be reached in several different places. But I do think we need to revisit the case of Jack and Lilly, because as of right now, when I'm taping this on Sunday, you'll be listening to this on Monday. Um, they have not found them yet, and I just want to bring this story back up to the forefront. But this article I'm pulling out here from Newsweek from August 23rd, so not that far behind, but still a couple weeks ago. That was the newest that I can find here. So as of now, as far as I know, they're still not found. New details in the case of missing siblings Lily and Jack Sullivan were released in court documents, including the results of polygraph administered to their parents. The siblings disappeared from their home in the rural Nova Scotia area on November 2nd, prompting weeks of searches by law enforcement through dense forest. The court filings show that at least 4 polygraph examinations were conducted by investigators, and that initial polygraphs for the children's mother, Malaya Brooks Murray, and stepfather Daniel Martel had indicated truthful answers, according to Friday report from CTV News. Newsweek has reached out to Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the RCMP, via email during non-working hours Saturday for comment. Why it matters. The case of Lily 6 and Jack 4 has drawn international attention after they were reported missing from their home in rural Lansdowne Station, Nova Scotia, earlier this year. Parts of me feel like, I kind of joked about how I'm ready to go down south and join the Bible Belt. And honestly, you guys, the amount of time I say y'all and the amount of times I have hard time saying the word rural. And I watched this thing that women from the South, and please comment below if you can, really struggle with the rule. And I don't know if that's from being in French immersion or if I just consume a lot of Southern American stuff. I'm not sure, but rural's also a difficult one for me too. So I understand. Um, the release of court documents shed light on the investigative steps taken by the RCMP, included forensic testing and wide range recording record requests, and clarifying that investigators have not established reasonable grounds to treat the disappearance as criminal. What to know? So the children were first reported missing at 10 a.m. On May 2nd, with police arriving at the home shortly after at 10:27. Surveillance footage showed the children with Brooks, Murray, and Martell outside a local Dollarama the day prior. The couple told investigators that the siblings had possibly slipped out of their sliding glass door as the parents slept in another room with their infant child. According to court records cited by CTV, Brooks, Murray, and Martell were given polygraphs on May 12th. The couple were then given subsequent polygraph tests 3 more times during this investigation. In each session, Brooks, Murray, and Martell's results indicated they were telling the truth, according to the report. Additionally, the children's biological father, Cody Sullivan, was given polygraph on June 12th, and the answers were still truthful, the document said. The children's step grandmother was also considered for a polygraph exam on June 10th. However, her physiology was not sustainable for analysis, and an opinion on the polygraph examination was not rendered, according to the report. Hmm. The court filings also listed the items that were seized by investigators. This includes children's toothbrushes, a sock, and pieces of a pink blanket that family members confirmed belonged to Lily, with one of the pieces in the tree near the home and another piece later found in a trash bag at the end of the driveway, according to the CTV report. That pink blanket was found about less than a mile away in the woods by family members on the day the siblings were reported missing. Investigator also examined clumps of boot prints in 2 sizes that were found in the nearby woods. The document showed investigators sought multiple court orders, including requests for cell phone records, banking records, and highway video surveillance on drivers leaving Nova Scotia between May 1st and 3rd. They also recorded receipts of hundreds of public tips and witness accounts of the 2 children walking toward a tan or gold sedan on May 2nd. An unidentified investigator wrote in the court document cited by CTV News, at the point in this investigation, Jack and Lily's disappearance is not believed to be criminal in nature. I do not have reasonable grounds to believe a criminal offense has occurred. Because Jack and Lily are still missing, polygraph examinations were conducted with the intentions of ruling that out. Belinda Gray, the child's paternal grandmother, told Globe and Mail earlier this month, just what did CPS do? What part were they investigating? What were their concerns and what were they doing? They might have answers for the investigation on what to them and why it might have happened to them. So what's next? Investigators continue to perform forensic testing in the items recovered from searches. The RCMP maintained that they had not ruled out any scenario where the files were being assessed under the Missing Persons Act. The RCMP asked that anyone with information contact Northeast Nova Scotia Major Crime Unit investigators continue to encourage tips as they assess forensic results and witness accounts. Whew. So, again, I have no idea. I'm not going to be conspiratorial. All I'm saying is that what the frickin' heck? If it's not criminal, then what are we saying? Like, are we saying that these kids just disappeared in the woods? Like, because you guys stopped doing that because you didn't think that that was possible from my understanding. So I'm just confused. If nothing criminal happened, then what do we think happened? I don't know, you guys. For some reason, this seems so unsettling. And again, I'm not blaming the parents or anybody around. I'm just saying, like, okay, if it's not criminal and you don't think it's a missing person case, then what do you think actually happened and what led you to believe that? I just wish we had a little bit more. And I fully understand that we shouldn't know everything about cases as they're going because it could ruin things for sure. But you guys, it's by the time this launches, it'll be midway through September, September 15th when this launches. May, June, July, August, September. That's 5 months. So I just wanted again to bring this story up because it is a still missing person case open here in Canada. And as I mentioned, I do want to be talking about more open cases of missing people here in Canada because I think it's super important. There is still an opening missing case from my friend that I went to junior. I guess I was junior high. She was in high school with on in Port Alberni, Amber Manthorn, that is still unsolved missing person case. And so I just really truly want to make sure to keep talking about these cases and these names to make sure that they're at the forefront, that they're, faces are in your minds just in case you're out there and one day you might see something that can help solve these cases or recall something or come across some footage. You never know. So, anyways, guys, three stories for you. I really hope that in these coming weeks that everyone can self-reflect on, their behavior online. I think it's really important to reflect on how we're delivering our messages and saying the things that we're saying. I myself am going to work even better to, forgive me, it's going to take time to just make sure I'm delivering not the same message and not change what my message is, but just make sure that it's being delivered in the right way with my full heart and making sure that that's how it's being received because that's what I mean while standing in my values. And that's why I appreciated the work that Charlie did. But again, guys, if you're a public servant and you're saying these kind of things, this is why it stems some disturbance because you should be putting your civil duty, whatever it is that you do before your political beliefs and other political beliefs. Just because people believe one thing or another doesn't mean they wish you death. We need to get rid of that. I would implore everyone to just try to be more uniting, try to be more loving, look into yourself, find some sort of, God and religion that you look up to that holds you to a higher power. Um, let's gear up. House of Commons are back. So that show, TV show is turned back on. Let's see what comes with it. I'm hoping we can have less drama and more people come together. But what the fuck am I talking about? That's probably not going to happen. And also just keep Jack and Lilly at the forefront of your mind, you guys, when you're seeing little kids out there. Keep your eyes out, even if you're across Canada. Keep those eyes out, guys. Don't forget to also like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Remember, on Mondays, it's Keeping Up with Canada. Wednesdays is Internet Insanity. I have an episode for you this week for sure, and it is absolutely insane. And then on Fridays, don't forget on Spotify, Apple, and Rumble, you can watch the Be Real Babe podcast. Thank you guys again so much if you made it to the end. I appreciate you so much for listening. And until the next episode, guys, bye.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Until next time, bye.